They discovered the shocking truth behind the ancient order of the Ten Commandments. Few knew what truly happened that night on the mountain. The air crackled with electricity. Shadows danced beneath the glow of an unearthly flame. Moses, trembling and resolute, stood alone, facing the unknown. His heart raced as he climbed higher, and with each step, he felt an invisible weight urging him forward. Mount Sinai loomed ominously against the night sky. The very place where heaven seemed to kiss earth. The Israelites waited below, murmurs of fear rippling through the crowd. Whispers of divine wrath churned in their hearts. What would happen to them if Moses failed? What if he was never to return? The tension hung thick, a tangible thing almost choking them. The stone tablets shimmered, inscribed with laws promised to guide them. But why was it shrouded in such mystery? Was it truly a divine gift or an ancient curse? As Moses approached, he could feel the warmth radiating from the glowing surface, inviting yet terrifying. Questions flooded his mind. What secrets were etched there? Could laws really govern hearts shadowed by sin? Suddenly, a deafening silence enveloped the mountain. The crowd gasped, breath hitching in their throats. They felt a strange pull, as if the very spirit of the universe waited to reveal something monumental. Moses paused, a lump in his throat. The air buzzed with anticipation. Would this moment change everything? The tablets could lead them to freedom, or they could bind them in ways they could not yet comprehend. As the sky darkened, rolling clouds gathered, and a distant rumble echoed like thunder. Was it a warning? In the hearts of the people, revelation and fear twisted like vines. They gazed up, eyes wide and filled with dread. What storm was brewing? What power would descend upon them? A flicker of doubt crossed Moses' face. Was he truly worthy? Who was he to bring forth these commandments? His hands trembled, the weight of his calling heavy. The crowd waited, breaths held. Would he return transformed, or would he be lost to the mountain's dark embrace? The night pulsed with energy. Would they understand the importance of these laws? Would they uphold them, or would they falter? Time hung in the balance. And so, as the first crack of lighting split the night sky, one question remained: what would the tablets reveal, and how would it change the course of their lives forever? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the storm swirled above, enveloping the peak of Sinai in shadows and light, Moses felt an awakening deep within him. The earth trembled, not only underfoot but in the depths of his very soul. It was as if the mountain itself resonated with an ancient truth, whispering secrets from long before time began. Each bolt of lightning illuminated not just the stone face of the mountain, but also unveiled hidden fears and longings within him. Above the commotion and fear of the Israelites waiting below, there came a voice deep, resonant, suffused with authority yet laced with compassion. Moses, it called, echoing through the vastness of the night, piercing the chaos. With every utterance, a gentle yet fierce warmth spread through his chest. He understood then that this moment was about more than just tablets. It was a sacred journey into understanding. The heavens parted, revealing a vision of a world that could be. A community living in harmony, bound by standards that uplifted the heart and spirit. Moses' mind sought clarity. The commandments were to be more than rules, they were to be a lifeline, a bridge back to holiness for a people often lost in despair. Could the weight of these laws transform mere mortals into vessels of divine will? Around him, the storm intensified. With each rumble of thunder, the people's fears morphed into something tangible, a palpable dread cloaking the camp below like a fog. They sensed that what lingered above them was not just wrath but also profound purpose. Their hearts begged the question, were they ready to truly lustento the words that would descend from the mountain? Moses took a deep breath, daring to glance down toward the mass of humanity waiting and watching. He witnessed faces etched with uncertainty, some glowing with hope, others shadowed by doubt. The enormity of his task consumed him. He was not just delivering laws, he would be the conduit through which divine intent flowed into the lives of his people. How would he ensure they connected with this gift rather than feared its weight? As Moses ascended the final steps, the glow from the tablets beckoned him like a lover's embrace. What would these sacred inscriptions demand of him? And would his people understand their significance? Lifting his hands, he prepared to receive divine wisdom, trembling not just from the chill of the mountain air but from the gravity of such responsibility. Suddenly, the flame brightened, forming into shapes and shadows an ethereal display that intertwined with his very essence. Moses understood that the essence of the commandments was imbued not only with moral laws but with a promise, an invitation to a relationship that challenged them to rise and transcend their human flaws. Yet questions lingered. Would they embrace their calling or defy it? What shadows and doubts would creep into their hearts as they heard the words? When the commandments were spoken, could they grasp the depth of these truths? As he stood, poised at the precipice of revelation, lightning illuminated his surroundings one final time. Clearly inscribed in the stormy sky were two profound messages: love and justice, intertwined in divine unity. The moment stood suspended, pregnant with potential. The future hung in balance, resting upon the whisper of truth waiting to be revealed, and as the thunder rolled, echoing the heartbeat of creation itself, one question persisted: would the people rise to forge a new destiny, or would they falter once more, tethered to the familiar chains of rebellion? Moses stood still, inhaling the charged air, the fragrance of impending revelation wrapping around him like a warm cloak. The world around him pulsed with energy, the mountain beating to a rhythm only the heavens could understand. As the storm swirled with righteous fury, a shroud of anticipation hung heavily in the atmosphere. Amidst this turmoil, a tender calm descended upon Moses, a whisper of divine assurance amidst the roaring chaos. Look beyond the law, the voice intoned, resonating with an invitation that spread deeper than surface understanding. For each commandment carries a heartbeat, a pulse that connects your people's essence to mine. Listen, and in the listening, understand. With those words echoing within the chambers of his mind, Moses felt the grip of fear loosen its hold. Perhaps the commandments were not merely edicts, they were a call to embody the spirit of creation itself. Each directive offered not just a do or do not, but rather an awakening of their collective spirit to a truth far greater than themselves. The challenge remained: how to convey this depth of meaning in a language they could comprehend. As the wind howled, Moses turned his gaze downward once more. The flickering fires of the camp below were like stars scattered upon the earth, each flicker a soul waiting for illumination. He could sense their hearts beating in unison, yearning for guidance yet fearful of the threshold they were about to cross. Would they find within themselves the capability to embrace such lofty ideals as love and justice? Or would dread outweigh their desire for connection? In that moment, he recalled his own transformation, his pilgrimage from the palace to the wilderness, where he learned shepherding was not just for flocks but for the people he was called to guide. Had wandered through shadows of self-doubt and pride, only to find clarity in humility. Could he make them see that these commandments mirrored their struggles and aspirations? That they, too, were invited to co-create a society of light? As Moses pondered, a vision unfurled before him. He could see the ripple effects of each commandment: the fractured relationships healed, the communal bonds strengthened, the cries of injustice silenced by acts of compassion. But with each step toward realization, a portentous whisper flickered in his mind: for every truth, there would be opposition. Would they be able to navigate the tumultuous waters of human emotion and desire that threatened to capsize their noble journey? The winds shifted momentarily, and in a profound silence, Moses felt the weight of the people's collective gaze upon him. They waited. He sensed their skepticism, the undercurrents of fear and desire knotted in their chests. Suddenly, he realized that to hold the tablets was not merely to possess laws but to embody hope itself. Moses. The voice called again, ringing clearer than before, reverberating through the rift of storm and shadow. Speak not of rules alone, but of love that binds. Illuminate their hearts. Emboldened, he stepped forward, his voice steady yet soft. Gather close, he beckoned, feeling the divine energy surge forth with the intensity of the storm. What I will share is not just a voice of authority, it is a call to awaken the divine spark within each of you. These words I will bring down from this mountain are not condemnation but a covenant of relationship, a pathway to unity that transcends mere obedience. Sparks flew as the storm raged around him, embracing him like a tempestuous teacher. He knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, rebellion brewing or indifference looming, but the truth would resonate within those who dared to listen. As shadows loomed and the storm rumbled through the skies, a lingering question settled in the hearts of all: would they have the courage to delve deeper, to embrace a living law that called them forth into a promise of redemption, or would they remain content in the comfort of the chains that bound them? The mountain trembled, a heartbeat echoing through the air, as Moses stood at the precipice of revelation. The clouds swirled above, dark and tempestuous, but within him, a flame flickered, kindled by divine truth. Every breath he took was a testament to the struggle that lay ahead, a trial not just of endurance, but of character and spirit. As Moses gazed down at the camp, illuminated by the flickers of firelight, he was reminded of the moments shared during their exodus from Egypt. Each laugh, every tear, the shared dreams of freedom, they etched a tapestry of human experience, one that intertwined each soul present. The dawn of their pilgrimage was painted with the memories of anguish and hope. Who were they now, standing lost in the shadows, about to confront the very essence of their existence? Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated the faces below. He saw them, young and old, each face a universe brimming with aspiration and fear. He wrestled with the revelation that lay before him. The 10 Commandments were more than mere rules, they were invitations to a deeper communion with the Creator and with one another. The winds shifted, carrying with them the voices of the people, whispers of doubt mingling with glimmers of faith, thus creating a symphony of unrest. Who are you to speak for us, Moses? Some might think. Can these words truly forge the ties that bind us together? The uncertainty hung like a heavy mist, and yet, somewhere beneath it, a desire for connection pulsed vigorously, sparking curiosity and longing. Thrusting a hand towards the heavens, he implored, Sovereign of the universe, guide me. Show me how to weave these truths into the fabric of their lives. And in that moment of surrender, understanding emerged as if conjured by the storm itself, revealing layers of meaning obscured by the passing years. Despite the unease rippling throughout the camp, he felt a burgeoning awareness. The commandments began to unravel into stories, parables that would connect their collective spirit to the divine purpose. They were not mere prohibitions but stories of dignity and community, encapsulating the essence of love in action. What if, he pondered aloud, the commandment against stealing was not solely about property, but rather a reminder that we must honor the dignity of each other's existence. Every person is a precious gift, not to be claimed without consent. What if honoring the Sabbath was not just resting from labor but a celebration of connection, an invitation to reflect on gratitude and the divine creativity woven into our very being? His voice rose with fervor, these words, dear people, shall become a tapestry of our lives. Each commandment whispers the heart of the Almighty, calling for relationship, for justice, compassion, and love to flow within us. Yet, as he spoke, doubt flickered like shadows against the rocks. Would his words penetrate the layers of fear and skepticism? An unsettling thought gripped his heart: could their history of oppression obscure the promise of reclamation? Would they see beyond the chains of their experiences to embrace a future molded in love and shared responsibility? The air crackled with tension, the tempest swirling as though mirroring the conflicts embroiled in the hearts of the people. What if they resisted this call to unity? What if the very laws meant to liberate became a source of division, a means for some to lord over others? Could the fragile threads of their connection withstand opposition, or would they unravel in their quest for understanding? As daylight began to break through the gathering storm, illuminating the path ahead, Moses felt a surge of hope. Transformation began within those very fears. Perhaps it was through the struggle that they would find their truth revealed, not just in the commandments but in the way they lived, loved, and responded to one another. With the storm quieting but still present, he heard a soft voice within, beckoning him to return to the heart of the mountain, to the stillness that birthed raging passion. Moses, it whispered. Your journey is only beginning. Will they heed the call to deeper understanding, or will they turn back to the shadows of their former existence? The question lingered in the space, as palpable as the fresh rain beginning to fall, each droplet a reminder of the renewal that awaited if they dared to listen. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the clouds, casting a golden hue over the mountains, Moses felt the weight of the moment heavy upon him. The light began to unravel the shadows that wrapped around his heart, each beam a reminder of the hope each commandment carried. Yet, as the sun rose, it illuminated not just the path ahead, but the hearts of those who looked to him for guidance. Descending the mountain, Moses felt a curious blend of anticipation and trepidation. The people below buzzed with restless energy, their voices mingling into a clamor that resonated through the valleys. It was not just the sound of a camp, it was the deep hum of souls searching for direction, begging for understanding. He could sense their yearning, but also their reluctant and intricate dance between faith and fear that threatened to unravel the delicate thread of unity he sought to weave. As he approached the base, he noticed a group gathered, faces turned towards the horizon where the sun ushered in a new day. Among them stood Aaron, his brother, the anchor in his turbulent sea. The sight of Aaron stirred a well of warmth in his chest, but the concern etched on his face only deepened Moses's worries. "Moses," Aaron called, pulling him aside, "the people are restless. Some doubt your words, others wonder if freedom is merely a chain of binding laws. They fear they are being led into another form of bondage, even as they crave liberation. What do you intend to share with them?" Moses closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the gust of the wind wash over him, carrying with it the scent of earth and renewal. "I must tell them the truth of what I have received, the call to a new way of life. These commandments are not yet rules but invitations to transformation. Can you not feel that every command is a door, each leading to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the sacredness of our relationships?" But Aaron shook his head. "Compassion is woven into those words, yet some hear only restrictions. Many carry heavy burdens from their past. What if they cannot see the beauty within the tapestry you intend to create?" With resolve, Moses turned his gaze towards the crowd, gathering strength from the urgency of their quest. "Then I must help them see, Aaron. I must unveil the heart behind the commandments and compel them to embrace their meaning. It is not enough for me to stand as a mediator, I need to stir their hearts to recognize the essence of divine love that flows through these ancient words." As he stood before the people, the air thick with anticipation, Moses spoke, "Beloved children of Israel, wrought from the dust of oppression, listen. What I bear is not mere legislation but a blueprint for community, a chalice of relational grace. For in our deep longing to be free, we must first learn what true freedom looks like, a freedom rooted in love, compassion, and connection." That he cast his gaze over the multitude, searching for signs of understanding, a flicker of hope, a nod of recognition. Yet, the glimmers were shadowed by doubt. Still, he pressed on, feeling an inner warmth rise within him. "When I say, 'You shall not murder,' know that it is a command to honor the sacredness of life within one another. When I speak of stealing, it is a call to acknowledge and protect the dignity of each person. The Sabbath is not just a day of rest, it's an essence of our shared humanity, a rhythm of compassion in our lives." Excitement rippled through the crowd momentarily, but just as quickly, a murmur of dissent echoed back, questioning, what if this promise of love is merely an illusion? What if our wound is too deep for healing? Moses's heart sank slightly at their hesitance, yet hope lingered, urging him forward. "Beloved ones, the truth is perhaps even more wondrous and terrifying than we can fathom. Each command will challenge us to confront the depths of our humanity, to engage with our hearts at a level unimagined. Are these chains or wings? Will we allow ourselves to be woven into the fabric of divine love? Or will we cling to the shadows that bind us?" As he paused, a silence fell over the crowd, thick with reflection and hesitation. The questions he posed hung heavy in the air, leaving a space ripe for change yet fraught with uncertainty. Would they embrace the unknown, or retreat into the familiar darkness of doubt and defensiveness? Moses felt the burden of the moment press upon him like the very mountain itself. Yet as he looked again at the faces surrounding him, the spirit of anticipation began to unfurl within him. "Is it possible," he asked softly, that our greatest struggle could lead us to the profoundest truth about ourselves and our Creator? Are we brave enough to seek the beauty hidden within the call to love, and the redemption that lies beyond our fears? As these questions lingered, Moses wondered if they would wrestle with the truth, or let their fears dictate their choices. Would they step into the light of compassion, or remain in the shadows of isolation? And somewhere deep within, the unspoken question echoed, in seeking understanding together, could they truly find the freedom they so ardently desired? As the sun climbed higher, its warmth draping over the assembly, Moses felt the tension weighty in the air, as if the people's collective breath was held in suspense. He scanned the faces before him, an array of hope, frustration, and wounded longing. It was clear to him that this moment demanded more than mere words. It required him to guide them deeper into an awakening of shared spirituality, an unveiling of the divine mystery embedded within the commandments that in our steep journey from slavery to freedom, Moses proclaimed, his voice rising amidst the stillness, we are called not only to break our chains but to transform our understanding. The commandments are a compass, a guide not to bind us, but to lead us into the heart of love, where every law speaks not of limitation but rather of infinite possibility. A ripple of intrigue flowed through the gathered crowd, some exchanged glances laden with searching questions. But how can we trust what lies beyond our scars? A voice emerged from the periphery. It belonged to a woman whose eyes mirrored both wisdom and weariness, the kind carried by those who tasted suffering too long. How do we reconcile the wounds of the past with the promise offered here? Are we to believe in the beauty you describe when our hearts know only brokenness? Moses met her gaze with the depth of his own experiences. The journey from darkness to light is fraught with uncertainty. Yet, it is precisely through our wounds that the light can enter. Each commandment is a thread in a larger tapestry, inviting us to weave our individual stories into a communal narrative of healing. And yes, trust is the foundation we need to build together, trust in ourselves, in each other, and in the divine source that has called us forward. At this, Aaron stepped close to Moses, sensing the tumult brewing in the hearts of their people. Moses, perhaps we need to share what we've glimpsed on the mountaintop, the sacred whispers that breathed life into these commands. They hold a promise of gentleness, if only the people can see it. With a nod, Moses continued, indeed. On the mountain, among thunder and fire, the divine presence revealed a profound invitation. You shall have no other gods before me is not an edict of fear, it teaches us to let go of false securities, clinging instead to a boundless love that awaits us. It frees us from dependency upon that which cannot sustain us. The crowd's eyes widened with intrigue as Moses spoke of the truth behind each commandment. He urged them to view them as beacons of connection rather than chains of obligation, a liberation from the idolatry of self, possessions, and even fears. It is about placing love at the helm of our existence, that is the essence of every law. Hope ignited sparks of recognition within the onlookers as Moses pressed on. When I declare, "You shall not bear false witness," it is an invitation to genuine honesty, fostering trust and authenticity in our relationships. When I speak of honoring your father and mother, it is a call to the sacred reverence of family and community ties, nurturing love across generations. Yet, despite these words, the air thrummed with apprehension, the question hanging uncomfortably. But who will guide us as we navigate these deeper truths? Another elder interjected, the lines on his face etched with doubt. Will we falter without the familiar grip of rule and consequence? Moses took a deep breath, grounding himself in their vulnerability. You, my beloved friends, are entrusted with this guidance. Each of you brings a unique light into this trembling darkness. Wisdom flourishes in community, trust in one another will illuminate the path ahead. Together, we shall wrestle with these truths, facing our fears, celebrating our joys. That he wondered then if this call would stir within them not just a sense of responsibility, but a yearning to share their stories, opening the doors to understanding without judgment. Could their collective voices reshape their history, weaving the struggles into a hopeful narrative of shared growth, as the sun cast its radiant glow? A gentle breeze swept through the throng, whispering remnants of ancient promises. Moses felt the energy shift, simmering with potential, yet covered with anxiety. Will we dare to unravel our fears and embrace the freedom that lies within love's embrace? Can we muster the courage to walk this path as one, trusting the journey that faith affords, a journey that leads us closer to ourselves and the divine source that binds all of creation? With this lingering question resonating above the solemn gathering, Moses could only wait, wondering if the truth they discovered would cultivate in them the strength to transform both their lives and their community. Would they rise together, kindling a flame of renewed faith and love, or would they cling to the familiarity of their chains, afraid to step into the inevitable unknown? As the murmur of the crowd swelled with cautious curiosity, a stillness settled as if the earth itself paused to listen. The sun now peaked overhead, casting sharp shadows that danced playfully at their feet. Yet, in the face of Moses' words, many remained gripped by a deeper unrest that lingered just beneath the surface, a concern overshadowing their burgeoning hope. In the midst of this charged moment, a young man, slighter than many but with an unmistakable fire in his eyes, stepped forward. "Moses, we hear your call to trust and love," he said, voice trembling with raw honesty. "But what of the days to come? What if we fail? What if our hearts retreat to the shadows of fear and doubt once again?" Moses regarded him with compassion, knowing that such vulnerability often bears fruit in the depths of the spirit. "Failure is part of the journey," he acknowledged gently. "In our attempts, we will stumble and falter, yes. But within each misstep lies an opportunity to return, to learn, and to grow. The commandments are not a rigid chain meant to bind, but guideposts heralding the path of reconciliation and understanding." But the young man remained unconvinced. "And what of our children?" He pressed further, passion igniting behind his words. "How do we teach them the truth when our own hearts are still wrestling with the past? Will they see the love you speak of, or merely the laws that seem to govern us?" A contemplative silence enveloped the assembly. Moses turned to the multitude, his brow furrowed with the weight of responsibility. "Ah, therein lies the crux of our learning. It is through our courage to share our stories of our struggles and our triumphs that we can nurture a legacy of love. Show them our journey, our struggles, and the grace that sustained us. In vulnerability, we lay the foundation for their faith." Just then, an elder from the back dared to speak, his voice like gravel yet layered with wisdom. "But what if love does not come easily to those who have known only hardship? How do we reach their hearts when the world has taught them to distrust?" A ripple of acknowledgement passed through those gathered, many nodding in agreement. It was true, the shadows of their past were not easily cast away, and the idea of love seemed distant to those who had endured pain for so long. Moses felt this truth weigh heavy. "Love is a river," he replied slowly, choosing his words with intention. "A river that requires both the softness of rain and the strength of mountains to flow. It may not come easily, yet we have the power to nourish it in one another. By sharing our burdens, we allow love to break through the hardness of fear. Perhaps it is in our very openness that we invite others to unlock their hearts." As the wind turned, stirring the dust at their feet, the crowd began to perceive a subtle shift. Could it be that the encouragement of their leader could indeed create a ripple effect of change within their wounded hearts? A sense of cautious hope mingled with uncertainty, yet something intangible lingered, a shared recognition that together, they could explore this unseen territory of love and community. Yet, lingering in Moses's heart was a question not easily silenced: would they honor the truths that had shaped them, or would the fears of their past hold them back from reaching toward this new dawn? The air was charged with possibilities, teetering on the edge between faith and fear. A sacred trust hung in the balance, waiting for them to grasp it. As the assembly settled into a ponderous silence, Moses couldn't help but wonder what unity would look like in their journey forward. Would they create a tapestry of shared stories that illuminated their path, or would they remain locked in their individual struggles, fearful of embracing the collective healing awaiting them? The weight of these unresolved questions lingered, marking the air with anticipation. As the shadows lengthened under the descending sun, the multitude found solace in the stillness that followed. The tension of their fears hung like the low, fragrant mist of the evening air. Moses surveyed the people, sensing their restlessness, their yearning for clarity in the complexity of their shared existence. Just as the sun began to bathe the cliffs in hues of amber and crimson, an elderly woman stepped forth, her face weathered but fierce with resolve. "Moses," she began, her voice steady and commanding. We have lived under the weight of suffering for so long that the prospect of love seems a distant memory. Yet you speak of it as if it is a reality just beyond our fingertips. How do we reconcile our anguish with the hope you offer? With a deep breath, Moses felt the heart of the people echoing through her words. He pondered before replying, gesturing gently at the gathered crowd. The tenets of our faith mirror a journey rather than a destination. Just as the stars are hidden by the clouds, so is love obscured by our experiences. But in every commandment lies an invitation not merely to obey, but to awaken to what love looks like in action. What do you mean? A voice called from the rear, marking the discomfort that curved through the congregation. The commandments, Moses explained patiently, are not simply rules to live by. They are expressions of love in their truest form. Consider each directive. To honor your parents is to recognize the love that has sheltered you. To rest is to acknowledge the rhythm of creation. To refrain from harm is to forge a community that reflects kindness. As he spoke, the onlookers began to reflect intently upon their past verses and their future hopes. They exchanged glances, grappling with the truth of his words. Could these seemingly cold laws actually cradle the warmth they so desperately sought? Still, these truths are fraught with conflict. Another voice chimed in, this one belonging to a young woman whose brows knitted with anxiety. How do we embrace love when the very laws that govern us have sometimes felt shackles upon our hearts? What shall we do when we vary in our understanding, our beliefs? The path of love is indeed complex, Moses replied, acknowledging the challenge in every word. It requires humility, openness, and often even confrontation both with oneself and with each other. You see, the journey is not a solitary one, it is an intricate dance between diverse souls. It is in the act of struggling together that we can stage the most profound lessons. But it demands bravery, courage to ask hard questions and to hold space for uncertainty. A hush fell upon the crowd as they absorbed the weight of this truth. How often had they shied away from difficult conversations and painful reconciliations, preferring to bury their grievances rather than confront them. An elder with long, thin fingers, raised his hand. But courage is often met with fear, Moses. What if we stumble? What if we harm rather than heal? Can we bear the consequences of our steps? Moses felt the gravity of the concern, for fear was a familiar yet insidious companion in their lives. Ah, but therein lies the mystery of grace, he noted, his voice taking on a soothing tone. In our attempts to love, we will invariably make mistakes. That is part of our shared humanity. Yet, it is in our willingness to ask for forgiveness and to extend it that we find a pathway through the labyrinth of our fears. Do we trust each other enough to navigate the complexities of our relationships? As the questions lingered in the air, Moses contemplated the weight of shared vulnerability and trust. This gathering was not merely a moment of dialogue, it was a crucible for transformation, a test of their resolve to face not only the anticipated joy but also the risks of love. Would they be willing to step onto this winding road, to embrace the parts of themselves that they consider dark? In the deepening twilight, surrounded by shadows and flickering hopes, Moses realized that the real journey was just beginning. The people had yet to discover how deeply intertwined their stories could become the tales of despair, resilience, and ultimately, love. Only time would reveal their choice. Would they lean into the grace offered or retreat into the safety of silence? The question hung palpably in the evening air, inviting not only introspection but also an urgency for a softening of hearts. Would they dare to dance in the uncertainty, together? As the last light of day melted into darkness, the air thickened with unspoken thoughts and anticipations. Moses could feel the shifting emotions of the crowd, swirling like leaves caught in a gentle breeze. They were on the cusp of something greater, yet the weight of their shared history pulled at their hearts. A crackling fire soon flickered to life at the center of their gathering, its warmth beckoning those around it to come nearer. The flames danced mysteriously, mirroring the uncertainty residing within each soul. Moses took a step closer, feeling the pulse of the gathering. With these commandments, he started, his voice low yet resonant amidst the crackling embers, we are invited into a deeper communion, a sacred order that both binds and liberates. What does it mean to be bound? An old man asked, shielding his eyes from the blaze. We have been bound by despair, we have been shackled by our fears. Can these laws free us, or will they only tighten the chains? Moses regarded the question gravely, searching for clarity amid his own reflections. True binding is not a matter of confinement, but of connection. When we act in love, honoring each commandment, we create bonds that uplift us rather than chains that drag us down. It is a gathering not merely of individuals, but a community of hearts striving toward a unified purpose. A young child, whose wide eyes flickered with the reflection of the fire, called out innocently, "But if love binds us, does that mean we must agree on everything? Will we not each become like one another, losing our uniqueness?" A gentle smile spread across Moses's face at the child's insight. "Ah, but my dear, love does not seek uniformity, it cherishes diversity. Each one of you carries a unique shard of the divine. In truth, it is in your differences that the beauty of community flourishes. The commandments are a framework, a collective call to draw forth our distinct gifts in service of one another." A murmur rippled through the crowd as they pondered the harmony of individual differences united under a shared purpose. They began leaning into the possibility of this revelation, their faces lighting up with consideration. Yet, lingering doubt still hung in the air, like mist before dawn. Another voice emerged from the shadows, hesitant yet probing. "But what happens when love feels impossible? When our wounds bleed too openly for understanding to pierce through? How shall we navigate the depths of our pain without causing others harm?" Moses nodded slowly, realizing this was a threshold many had already experienced. "Pain can distort the vision of love, to be sure," he replied earnestly. "It demands that we approach one another not just with love but also with compassion and patience. We must learn to sit in discomfort, to hear the silent stories behind angry words or hurtful actions. Only then can we cultivate empathy, and through that, find paths towards healing." At that moment, a profound silence enveloped the gathering. Each person wrestled with their fears, their scars, and the call scribbled upon their hearts. The embers of the fire cracked, offering the only sound in the still night. They were being led not only to a deeper understanding of the commandments but also toward the reflection of their collective spirits. The elderly woman who had first spoken stepped forward once more, her voice quivering with emotion. "Moses, is it truly possible for us to embrace such a path? Can love truly be the compass that guides our hearts through the storm of our past?" Moses felt the weight of their longing. "It is a journey that we can embark upon together, united by the courage to trust and to share in vulnerability. It will not always be easy, and at times it may feel impossible, but the very act of seeking love, even amid our pains, is what weaves the fabric of community." As the fire crackled under the midnight sky, their stories seemed to merge like rivers converging into the sea. The call to navigate through the labyrinth of their existence crescendoed with the night. Would they rise to this calling, or retreat once more into the shadows? Moses' heart swelled with hope, yet the question remained suspended, inviting each listener to contemplate: would the bonds of love they forged in these shared struggles heal the fractures within and among them? Or would they falter at the brink of their greatest challenge? As the night deepened, a collective silence enveloped the crowd, their hearts beating in unison as if responding to a shared spiritual pulse. Moses, feeling the weight of the moment, gathered his thoughts and beckoned to the people before him. "Beloved children of Israel," he began, his voice resonating like a trumpet against the stillness. "We stand on the brink of transformation, poised to embrace a covenant that will not only define us but elevate us above our past." At the heart of the gathering, shadows flickered between the faces of young and old, hope and doubt painted across their features. Moses could feel the tension like electricity in the air, an unbroken thread woven through their shared lives, binding them together even in their uncertainties. "These 10 commandments," he continued, his words tinged with urgency, "are not an imposition of chains upon your spirits, but a divine invitation to discover the very essence of who we are to be in this world." As he spoke, a wind rustled through the trees, the leaves whispering secrets of ages past. "I have been with you through trials and tribulations, I have witnessed your burdens and your struggles. And as I climbed this mountain, I learned the essence of love being the law that suffuses every commandment." He paused, watching for a flicker of understanding in their eyes. "In every prohibition lies an act of love. In every affirmative act, a rebirth of our collective spirit. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Doubts began to shift, but for many, uncertainty still held sway. "But Moses," called a voice, raw and trembling, "how do we reconcile our pain with such high ideals? Will we not stumble again, burdened by our histories? Can love transcend the chains of our past?" Moses' heart ached at the pain lacing through their words, yet within him, a spark ignited a newfound determination. Love does not negate the existence of pain, instead, it transforms it. It is in acknowledging our wounds that we can cultivate compassion not only for ourselves but for one another. He leaned forward, locking eyes with the young man who first stepped forth from the crowd. "You fear failure, but it is through our courage to face it that we allow love to break through the barriers we have constructed. What if we choose to embrace the commandments as guides?" He gestured expansively. "Imagine a community bound not by fear but by a profound understanding of love's capacity to heal. 'You shall not steal' becomes a rallying cry for honoring one another's dignity. When we honor the Sabbath, it is not merely a day of rest, but a sacred pause inviting reflection, gratitude, and connection." Another voice emerged, filled with skepticism yet tinged with hope. "Moses, we carry scars. Can these laws genuinely lead us into a future filled with love and unity? What if they become burdens rather than blessings?" With the crackling fire as his witness, Moses raised his voice to embrace the spirit of the moment. "We will falter. We will struggle. The path ahead will not be smooth, it will require vigilance, humility, and grace. But each time we stumble, we must gather ourselves, support one another, and share our stories, the shared tales that link our hearts." As the flames danced, casting flickering shadows against the twilight sky, Moses felt an awakening of faith rising amongst them. "So I ask you, are we willing to step into this covenant together, to weave our lives in service of love and justice? Will we shatter the chains of individualism and claim our identity as one people united in purpose?" Slowly, he began to see nods of affirmation among the crowd, an awakening of their collective spirit. The wind carried whispers of agreement, gently lifting doubts like leaves caught in a warm current. It stirred the depths of their hearts, an invitation to forge connections anew. "Know that we must be each other's keepers," Moses urged, each word a proclamation of hope. "In our commitment to love, we must remain vigilant against the tendencies of the heart that lead to division and strife. Together, let us create a community where compassion flourishes, where the light of understanding dispels darkness. Our love must be a living testament, breathing life into every commandment we receive." One voice broke through, a voice emboldened by the insights of the gathering. "I will stand beside my brothers and sisters," an older woman declared, resolve brightening her features. "Together, we will support each other in the dance of vulnerability that places love at its center." Another joined, tears glistening. "I have known despair, but I am ready to rediscover life in the light of this shared promise. I choose love." They began to nod, more voices rising to affirm one another, transforming the shared air thick with questions into an atmosphere woven with faith. As moments passed, Moses witnessed the shift, a metamorphosis taking root within their hearts. He felt a warmth spread, a melody of collective hope echoing through the valley. "Then let us rise, my people. Let us step beyond our fears and embrace the beauty awaiting us. Together, we shall build a community founded upon love, justice, and the sacredness of relationship." With each word, a transformation unfurled, and the once quiet gathering began to pulse with energy. Courage mingled with relief, breathing life into shared intent. I own a collective understanding that the commandments were not weights to carry but paths to liberation, carved through the enduring strength of community. As the last embers of twilight yielded to night, bridging the world between past sorrows and future joys, the assembly stood united, their hearts entwined in a newfound faith resilient against the trials to come. With their hands lifted toward the heavens, they formed a circle of grace, a testament to the power of communal love. "Together, we will navigate this journey," rang the voices in harmonious affirmation. "We choose connection, we choose love," and in that poignant moment, at the foot of Sinai, a divine truth blossomed amidst them, not as commandments inscribed in stone, but as living invitations to embody the love that will shape their destinies. As they stood together, a people reborn, they realized that the spirit of the commandments flowed seamlessly into the depths of their beings, nestled within their stories, a sacred heritage calling them forth into a promised future of hope and resilience. Thus, as night enveloped Sinai, they cemented their covenant not merely with woven words but with heartfelt commitment, giving rise to a movement that would echo through ages untold. In love, we find our strength. In unity, we reclaim our souls. And so, this was their revelation, their awakening, their journey together beginning anew.